style in the back of the head. It was not, self-defense like everybody from John Kyle to Barbara Boxer claimed it was. And it did bring world attention to the humanitarian crisis, and it did force Israel to liberalize somewhat the restrictions they're putting onto it, and I think people in Hamas paid attention to that. What does shelling Israel do? It just gives an excuse to kill people by the hundreds and destroy what little they have. So I found that rather interesting that they've that Hamas on the very pragmatic grounds are looking at this kind of thing. And similar on the West Bank, where we see more and more people getting interested in strategic nonviolent action. I know some folks who did some seminars and other things. It's not just the usual suspects, the Christian intellectuals in Ramallah or whatever that are interested in this. We're seeing, even some of the the younger Tanzim militants, who fought the Israelis in the Second Intifada, realizing, hey, and they had not renounced violence. They do see it as their right to resist violently, but realize that up against the Israelis, they really can't find a realistic scenario of gaining their freedom that way. So they're starting to learn stuff and study the stuff, and even Abbas has expressly talked about nonviolent resistance, as part of their struggle. Given the futility of the armed struggle, and for that matter, the futility of the diplomatic struggle so far.
Yeah, in today's times, the Syrian human rights activist is quoted as saying that many more people and groups would join the protests, but the big fear is what succeeds in Assad regime.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And is there any precedent for nonviolent protest to work out an accommodation in a society like the Syrian society?
The simple answer is no, just because there are not many societies like Syria's anywhere. It's really hard to think of an analogous situation. But I think my sense in Syria is that, in many ways, in Egypt, is that the more hardline Islamists, which everybody was so scared of, is definitely is now at this point of an older generation. I know the Egyptians I've worked with believes the Brotherhood and their aging leadership was out of touch with their day-to-day reality as the Mubarak regime was. I'm not as clear about Syrian situation, but most of the people in the protest are definitely of a younger generation, seem to be secular in orientation, and you read all about the Alawites as a Sunni majority, but it's a secular regime. It's much more of a clan thing than a religious thing. So I think that the concern people had in the 80s and 90s of the Islamists coming to power in Syria if the Assad's fell is overstated. Also, I think that but again, I'm just less familiar with who's who in Syria right now than I am in some of the other cases to say with much confidence.
Layla, what do you say about Syria?
I'm just sitting and watching. I too am very surprised by how things have rolled out, and from day to day I'm surprised. I'm surprised by the massive casualties today. So perhaps in a way I'm a little too involved to have formed a coherent predictive mechanism right now. So I'm watching from Friday to Friday.
One thing that really does strike me about is that we're talking about monarchies, we're talking about autocratic pro-Western republics, we're talking about socialist Syria, we've seen smaller things in Oman, Algeria. Again, this is despite the effort of people to make it a larger geopolitical kind of thing. This is not a classic left-right or pro-West, anti-West thing. This is indeed a broader freedom thing. And that's what I think makes it, one of the things that makes it so exciting. So thank you very much. Again, I have a few books here, both the Civilian Jihad and the Nonviolent Social Movements. And if if I'm out by the time you get up here, you can sign up on a sheet with your mailing address, and I'll get some more to you.
Such a good day.
Do you have a pen? I can.
Yeah,
I
let's
can
find a pen. I'm sure we can find a pen here somewhere.